The following is a preview of episode 17, Solutrean. To listen to the full episode, become a supporter of the podcast by visiting patreon.com/ourprehistory or by clicking the link in the description of this episode. The Solutrean marks a fundamental shift away from organic points toward stone-tipped weapons. At Solutrean camps, bladelets and organic points were made less frequently and to less exacting standards than during the Gravettian. Stoneworkers shift their effort and skill to making high-quality stone points. For about 2,000 years, Solutrean points came to be used by all forager groups west of the Alps. They were made in different forms, but the most widespread were leaf-shaped, long, narrow, thin, and acutely pointed at each end. Archaeologists refer to these as laurel points because they resembled the leaf of this plant. A rarer, narrower variety is called a willow leaf point. There's an astounding variation in the size of laurel points. Most are between 4 and 25 centimeters long, a reasonable range for a knife, spear point, or arrow point. But groups living at the northernmost limit of Solutrean occupation at the time, around the Loire River in France, made laurels between 25 and 40 centimeters long, which were much too heavy to make effective spears. Known as Volgu points and found at 11 ancient Solutrean camps, they may have been items of prestige, displayed to demonstrate a stoneworker's talent. Laurel points, regardless of size, required tremendous skill to produce. Often perfectly symmetrical and extremely thin, only about 5 millimeters, they would have easily cut through an animal's hide. Many laurels were accidentally broken before their completion. Successful production required special knowledge, accumulated over generations and years of practice. In fact, a gradual progression from simpler to more complex Solutrean points has been observed in the archaeological record, with technical skill accumulating over several centuries. This process began around 26,000 years ago in Portugal and southern France, when groups of Gravettian bands started making a rather thick and roughly triangular stone point. Retouching to shape them was limited, focused on the base and done with a hard stone hammer, which provided relatively little control over the flaking process. These weapon tips have been named Vale Comprido points, after the site of their discovery in Portugal. Their appearance marks what archaeologists refer to as the Proto-Solutrean phase, presaging the fuller development of Solutrean weapons. As time passed, Vale Comprido points evolved as the people of southwestern Europe adopted improved stoneworking techniques. Points grew thinner and were shaped to a greater degree. One key innovation that made these improvements possible is called overshot flaking, which removes wide, thin flakes that cover the entire face of the stone tool. This technique allowed for the production of extremely thin points, but required exceptional control and precision. As a result, stone knappers began favoring hammers made of bone or antler. The use of overshot flaking marks the end of the Proto-Solutrean